Neoplanet S.
Welcome to Neoplanet S. In the bottom left corner of the map, the blue Terran. Hailing from Korea and Texas, it is CM Storm Polt.
And over in the top right-hand corner, the red Terran, the liquid hero, it is Liquid TaeJa!
Now, I did get an opportunity to talk to both of these players before WCS round of 8 even began, and they were both extremely focused on getting to the semifinals. That was their main objective because that would secure them a ticket to Gamescom, which is happening later this month. And they're very happy with that result. Now, I want to see how they're going to bring it to the semifinal match because there's still a lot of money on the line here, Grito.
Yeah, a total of $60,000 is up for grabs for all of these players. Obviously, first place gives the absolute most, and I feel like both of them really have that confidence. You know, we always talk about it. It's like, oh, X player needs the confidence to win if they want to get it. I feel like both these players have that momentum going into this to roll that over and take out Jaedong. It's just who's going to come out on top, who's smarter today. It comes down to the second, to the millisecond of reactions for TVT.
And the first immediate deviations in build order has been revealed. TaeJa taking a 15 gas extremely late relative to what we have been seeing. Many Terrans have been favoring gas first even to get a quick factory out and be able to push out whatever tech you want onto the map. So Grito, let's talk a little bit about what we saw, because Polt went to standard 12-13, and now we see a 12-15 from TaeJa.
When you normally see something like this, you think Polt will go for factories. And also TaeJa goes for factories, but delayed. Why would you delay it? It's because you want to rush out your command center a little bit faster. When you get the gas, the opportunity cost is, when you don't get the gas, the opportunity cost is getting more minerals. Getting more minerals gets you that 400 minerals a lot faster to get that command center. That way you can have a booming economy while still maintaining a good tech.
That's right. So we'll see how TaeJa's be able to hold off early pressure. He's been known to be a very greedy Terran in the past. In fact, in this matchup alone, he used to be one of the few Terrans that would rush out a quick third command center at an extremely early time. It'd be like a one rack expanded to double CC, that kind of play. When going for siege tank pushes were really popular, TaeJa is unafraid to play very greedy, and he is going to go for a quick reactor over the factory. And he's just trying to prioritize his being as safe as possible early game. And you need to get that reactor so you can get your production up.
Yeah, you get Marines a lot faster. Normally you get the factory first because it takes 60 seconds for that. A reactor takes 50 seconds, and that way you can time it out sort of nice where, you know, the factory finishes, the reactor finishes at the same time, you can swap them out. But now you're going to have a lot more Marines coming out from TaeJa. Beautifully said, Frodan, that it's just so much safer to do it like this rather than to rush out that factory. You could die to like 2 racks Reaper, right? That's definitely all in.
This is becoming pretty popular as well as a nice way to cheese your opponent, ambush them with 3 to 5 Reapers and catch the early Marines out of position, even the first Hellion, if they can get it out. Now, here's a favorite gameplay, Andre. Is it a Raven or is it a Banshee? Because we've seen some Terrans like to go for a Cloak Banshee in light of the recent patch, but we also have seen some Terrans like to go for a quick Raven, but instead it is Polt going to go for a quick Cloak on this Banshee play.
Yep. It's Cloak Banshee. Normally when you rush out your tech so much, it's okay to get the Banshee first and then get the Raven afterwards, because you know you've rushed out your tech. Your opponent, even if they do rush out the tech, you have that whole time until the Banshee traverses the map to get that Raven up and defend. So it's definitely a smart thing to always get the Banshee first. You know, Cloak has gotten so cheap where it's like, yeah, you always go Cloak. It has no cons.
It feels that way considering it's only 100 gas. Now, TaeJa will have to finish up his starport and try to see if he can get his own Banshee in retaliation. But look at how quick his command center is over his opponent, so he can afford to use a scan or two if he needs to deal with it. Don't feel like it's going to be a big waste where it gets him far behind, because Polt is just starting his own CC, and TaeJa now is trying to get a good scout of his opponent's base, but is not able to see much.
Oh, wow. It's going to definitely help out quite a bit. You know, the fact that TaeJa has gone for the Banshee instead of the Raven actually surprised me incredibly. Normally you will rush out this Raven in this position because you're saying, well, I spent my money trying to get my command center out ASAP. I don't really want to be committing this to scanner sweeper, to detect. let me go ahead and just get my mules and then rely on ravens to deal with banshees like this.
And both players getting cloak has become such a standard norm that everybody does end up going for a raven. You can even follow it up with a marine raven banshee tank push, which sounds like a mouthful, but you kind of go for a little early pressure if you feel like your opponent is playing too greedy, because sometimes even after this harassment, we see Polt doing an excellent job controlling thus far. Sometimes you even go a quick third command center before the 9-minute mark even.
Yeah, definitely something that you can do within your range. This Banshee doing a fantastic job. 7 kills already, but still has not baited out a single scan just yet. The other Banshee, though, is crossing the map.
Oh, my goodness.
And look at this. Polt already has the Marines and Raven ready for this. Is he still going? My goodness, 12 kills.
He might clean up all the Marines before he's able to get the Raven out. 2 health, and the Banshee escapes with 14 kills. Incredible 700 resources. Meanwhile, Banshee on TaeJa, or Polt side of the map, only 3 kills, Greetor.
Yeah.
Polt super sharp with his control.
Yeah, that was brilliantly done, and I have to go back to that build. I mean, I understand your thought process, TaeJa. If you're trying to get the Banshee out to do that counter harass, you definitely want that to happen. But especially when you see that the command center is so delayed, you see the tech lab on your, or no tech lab on your siege or your factory. Go ahead and get that ASAP. Get the Raven out just so you can defend against that and not lose so much.
Well, Banshee trying to get away, and the Viking does end up sniping it, so Polt again not only able to harass but defend very adequately. But TaeJa does have an SCV lead, even though he did lose the Marines.
Yeah.
He managed to keep the core of his economy up, so even though Polt was able to do a lot of damage, TaeJa's not in a terrible spot.
Look at this army size. I mean, 1475, 650. Polt's just about doubling his opponent, and on top of that, he has this Widow Mine. Now, this Widow Mine might seem like, oh, it's not a big deal, but it actually tells him, hey, I can just move across the map and not have to worry about a thing. I know that you're not out on the map. And this is a very awkward situation for TaeJa to defend against. Where does he defend? Does he defend over here and try to protect this little area that can siege up and attack the Orbital Command Center? Or does he defend over here for his production?
Well, the most important thing is the natural line defense, but I like that Polt's also sending. Oh, he's going to send a Secret Missile while you're having his Banshee attack, and now one of the tanks immediately drops, and instead going to trade energy for a unit kill. Again, the Banshee's now infiltrating the main base, and Polt's not really serious about trying to follow us up because he realizes TaeJa's defenses are too strong.
17 kills alone with this Banshee. That is incredible. 950 resources have been eliminated from that single Banshee alone from both, 850, my bad, from both Marines and SCVs. Really, really cool stuff coming out from Polt. He can actually do so many different things to incur a lot of losses. Again, the constant pressure is good. I really feel like taking that positional advantage and keeping that positional advantage would be so important just to hemorrhage the third base of Liquid TaeJa, or hemorrhage the economy.
All right, so now both of these players are going for the third economy. Now, so we can talk a little bit about how mid-game revolves around Marine Tank, Greetorp. And one of the hardest things about Neo Planet S is that there's no towers compared to other maps, and there's so many counterattack paths. You can go to the north, or you can kind of rotate around the center, use the gold bases as a shortcut avenue. And so you have a lot of these Marines having small skirmishes, and it becomes kind of this funny build-up of sorts. You have like one Marine bring 2 Marines, and then you have this thing where you keep fighting for vision. And once you secure an avenue, maybe you can launch an attack, but it is a little tricky on how you maneuver your army on Neo Planet S.
And as you said, things escalate really quickly on top of these little mountains. I mean, you can see it right now. Polt just sent 3 Marines against TaeJa's 2 Marines. Of course, TaeJa has to back up from here. But, you know, map control is probably the single most important thing on Neo Planet S, and also lane control. If you have top and bottom control, you're able to do so many different things, and it's a lot harder for your opponent to really move around and defend the third base, the natural, even the main base from a lot of different all-ins that can happen, doom drops, etc.
Polt's going to try to see if he can poke and damage the third as much as possible. It's not meant to do initial damage, but Secret Missiles from TaeJa are not going to land on any significant amount of Marines. They do drop. You have to run with outside of the range of Secret Missile in order to deactivate it. And now Polt will get his third up earlier than TaeJa. All these small things Polt is doing brilliantly to try to give him the edge. And now he's going to pack up and head home. An excellent decision once again from Polt.
There's an upgrade advantage, though, for TaeJa, but very momentarily, you can see 1-1 about to finish over here in the bottom left-hand corner. Is the armory set up? Yes, it already is set up, whereas TaeJa just now is starting to finish the armory. So you can see just the fact that he forgot that armory alone removes his big advantage that he had in the quality of his units. He's still getting combat shields. Wow, that's an unfortunate surprise, but very nice for Polt.
I think that is something that might have slipped. TaeJa probably clicked on C or whatnot, but might have not pressed it hard enough. Those are one of the things that could end up being a factor, but luckily for TaeJa, it hasn't. And now we're setting up a very defensive position, crossing, making a diagonal cross from 11 to about 5 o'clock. And now we're going to find out how they're going to engage. I love that Polt's doing the extra precautionary measures, a supply depot over towards the southern part of the map, as well as a sensor tower, and still trying to pepper Marines all over the place in case he sees any drops.
Yeah, it's so clever. I mean, that sensor tower actually shuts down a lot. You know, I was saying lane control is important, but you can actually shut that down with 2 very well-placed sensor towers and then be able to shadow box your opponent pretty accurately. Cleaning everything up, TaeJa. Whoa, loses both medevacs. That's a big blunder.
That was about 20 supply worth of units. Again, Polt grabbing a pretty significant advantage. TaeJa loves having medevac advantage over his opponent. Sometimes you see him with trades off those Marines for extra healing, but now he doesn't really have that. Polt's going to try to pressure a little bit more, and he does have a sizable tank advantage compared to what TaeJa has here outside his natural.
Yep. It's going to be difficult, though, for Polt to really push on into this. I mean, he doesn't have good spots on anything. He doesn't have the ability to be in range against anything. And if pushing into this position, this is a really nice
Secret missile.
Oh.
Oh, okay. That did a lot less than
double tap.
It's not the same as it used to be, Andre. Secret missiles used to destroy everything.
Yeah. Those were interesting times, especially for TVZ in-game.
TaeJa's going to respond with a 4th command center. This is the smart thing to do as well. Polt really can't push into it, but very soon we're going to have big clashes as the map develops, because they will start to run dry on resources very soon because of how quick they went for 3 command centers. Now, how long do you stay on this grid tour? Is it Marine tank or die? When is the opportunity to transition to late game battle cruisers and mass Viking wars? Do you feel like that's ever a place on a map like Neoplan S?
You know, I think battlecruisers are always a good decision, but it's very difficult to actually incorporate them in. I definitely think battlecruisers are good after a big trade. That's when you really need it, because you don't want to be going battlecruisers just straight up when you're like 200 supply, you throw away maybe 20 supply worth of units, and then all of a sudden a big push is coming. You don't have battlecruisers forever. Get that trade in, get the Marines going, and then you still have the same amount of Marines, and you're getting a battlecruiser on top of it. I feel like Ravens, though, with the Hunter Seeker missile, you're actually able to take a lot more position over battlecruisers. I think it's a much better option to go Ravens rather than the bigger, I guess, stronger.
I just feel like having the Ravens is really important for late game. Even in early game, we've seen a usage of the Raven, and that does, again, go back to how Blizzard's tweaked the Raven since Heart of the Swarm came out. And I like that we've seen more usage in this match specifically. Now, TaeJa's going to try to load up a medevac. We haven't seen real drop attempts just yet, but it's a little tough because there are a lot of sensor towers on this map making really cool Venn diagrams. Great tour.
Yeah, and they're able to really zone out a lot of what's going on over here. Oh, wow. This is a ninja scan. Really well done. TaeJa going to probably intercept this pretty easily. The siege tanks are getting up here, but TaeJa's siege tanks are going to be able to defend pretty soon.
Okay, Polt's going to just try to poke here and there. He really can't bust this, especially considering how wedged he is in the northern part. But he does also have an army with a mini contain over towards the eastern part of the map, and TaeJa is maneuvering with the majority of his Marines in that vicinity. Again, just trying to feel out where Polt is, but Polt, he's now starting to add on mass command centers, so that way he can get a big vision advantage, get those scans, maybe reduced amount of workers, and we are in for quite a long haul.
Oh, yeah. I mean, these command centers are really nice in that you don't have to, as you said, get a lot of SCVs. Just that simple thing alone, think, if you have the same amount of army on the middle of the map, and I do too, all of a sudden I have, maybe 20 supply room to actually drop you, to displace all of your units, to make it really uncomfortable for you, because if you move, you know that equal-sized army is ready to push down straight into you.
TaeJa's going to have his drop immediately cleaned up, but he's also going to try to pressure over here in the east, and he's going to have a big bust out of what the containment is on Polt. He does lose a big portion of his army, but he does have enough production to keep it going. But again, that was a win that TaeJa needed to kind of even the momentum because the map control was too far in favor of Polt's side.
That's right. Polt's going to have to rethink this. This army over here does nothing. I mean, there's very minimal units over here that defends against this. You want to actually take a position where you have, I guess, positional mobility. Positional mobility. Just be able to shark around a lot and make it very uncomfortable that if TaeJa is out of position once, you're able to capitalize on this.
Scans exchange, trying to pick off whatever tanks are a little bit far overextended, but TaeJa making sure not to get blindsided by his northern push, while Polt is being the first to take a 5th base over towards the northwestern spot. And I believe TaeJa, oh, he didn't see that. He has a Marine in a position to see it, but he doesn't get wind of it just yet. Still, shots being exchanged. And we're not really seeing much traction in that, so we're going to focus more towards the southern part, where Polt is going to see an incoming TaeJa army.
Oh, this is a lot, too. All of these Marines.
Oh, a big stim!
Oh, no! Polt not paying attention at all, loses everything but 1 Marine. Those medevacs are very brutal. And it looks like there's going to be convergence over to the north side, pushing straight on through the middle. Remember, those sensor towers for both sides are able to shut down a lot of this movement and really see what's going on. Wow, what is going on? TaeJa is just moving directly up into the 4th base over here in the middle left-hand position and taking such great areas to attack his opponent.
And this is the power of using Neoplanet as the middle of the gold base. Like we said, you can rotate into another lane, and now all of a sudden, TaeJa is going to try to push into this 4th base while Polt's going for a counterattack, and both players do have defenses set in place, but it might not be enough for Polt to break through, as there's a planetary fortress, and TaeJa will break the 4th base of Polt. This is an excellent job from Liquid TaeJa.
Very much so. I mean, TaeJa's just playing it positionally so much better, breaking out at the perfect time, making sure he's not shut down on both lanes, attacking the weaker lane, and then establishing himself in a position where he could be attacking anywhere. And honestly, Polt isn't defending fast enough. He's not getting to the right areas and putting his tanks in places where they're always going to be cost efficient.
Polt's going to load up 3 medevacs, realizing his Marines are trapped if they stay there very long, but TaeJa does get whiff of it. It's going to stim his Marines to try to see if he can catch the medevacs, but remember, they do have those afterburns, so they can stim forward. Meanwhile, Polt's going to try to break the defense here of TaeJa on the 4th base, trying to go toe for toe. If you're going to limit my economy, I'm going to limit yours.
Oh no, TaeJa! He's going to get a big kill. 2 medevacs down. A 3rd one might go down to a single Marine. Oh yes, it does! 5 Marines get killed inside of that medevac. What a hero Marine right there.
Excellent job once again, and now look at how TaeJa's been able to secure the tank advantage with the army, while he's keeping Polt's attention away from the northern side, and he has a big, intimidating army. Although Polt does have these command centers that can work in his favor, they can draw fire and act as effective HP. TaeJa's going to instead rotate through the middle and try to see if he can push and perhaps flank Polt's army. And if he can, and try to cut Polt before he can get his army gathered and reorganized, he might be able to secure a victory there.
Yeah, definitely so. I mean, this is just brilliant from TaeJa. They're going to meet up in the southern side over here.
Oh, but Polt going for a contra flank as well. He's moving his Marines, but TaeJa is the first to siege, and Polt will try to see if he can defend his tanks, which are cut off. This is a very delicate position. If you overextend in one area, you can just completely lose the entire game.
Yes. I mean, this battle can literally decide everything. If there's a bad siege, if there's just an unsiege, something like that, definitely things can go wrong. Polt is caught in an awkward position.
TaeJa's not sieged outside his natural. Polt's going to chase it all the way in. The planetary is there. We don't see planetaries that often in this part of the game, but TaeJa is going to continue to rally his reinforcements and making sure that Polt cannot advance any farther forward. And if Polt is not taking care of his tanks, you have to be cautious. Medevac drops to try to bombard the tanks are also becoming increasingly popular here in TBT.
Oh, here it is. Secret missile. Oh, he picks it up. Nicely done.
Now, Polt, during this entire time, has set up a 5th base in the bottom, or 4th base, rather. His 4th base was taken out earlier, so this constitutes him as a new expansion towards the bottom right, trying to get more money, and that's what has attributed to his bank advantage. 3,000 compared to 1,000 of TaeJa. Polt now taking a big step forward, and he does get to scan. He's going to take out a big chunk of the siege tank from TaeJa, and now TaeJa is going to get completely busted as TaeJa is trying to secure the gold expansion, but Polt does have a stronger anchor here in the southern part of the map.
Yeah, and look at Polt gigantic bank. He also has so many units back here. Oh, big confrontation going on in the mid right-hand position. A lot of siege tanks going to be taken out. Marines are being thinned out quite a bit, but all it takes is time for the reinforcements to push on through into the gold base, taking out the siege tanks, and now displacing this command center. That is a large chunk of
the command center drops. Polt has now removed TaeJa's economy.
The income is looking extremely grim for TaeJa. It is for Polt, but it's because he does have that expansion, and now TaeJa is forced to relocate to the top left, but Polt will see that. And if he can cut it off, once again, TaeJa will be in a very tough spot in the upcoming minutes. And TaeJa does end up seeing where Polt's army is, doesn't want him to try to cut off the economy, but he might not have a choice because Polt has so much map control. The supply counts in terms of the army is vastly in favor of CM Storm Polt.
Jeez, it's just, I don't know how it turned over like this. 123 supply to 194. TaeJa has a very, very big disadvantage to work up to right now. I mean, he really, really needs to get something done, and he's going to try to do that with this bottom right attack with his Stim Marines, obviously.
Polt is everywhere. He's got Marines in the expansion. He's got Marines in the alleyway. He's shutting down any drops, sensor towers everywhere. Polt has more surveillance on this map than the NSA has on America, Greetor.
Nice.
Terry, politics joke.
This isn't... Oh, gosh. There's only 2 siege tanks over here. This is going to be the big trigger. Polt's just going to push in here. The Marines are going to sprint ahead.
Polt's just going to go for it. TaeJa's going to try to catch it. There's so many siege tanks can take up the entire lane. And TaeJa, he's going to have to find some answers, but he doesn't have that much to work with. He only has 2 tanks. Marines are stemming forward. Polt still has a third of them still sieged up. And TaeJa's going to take a fight that he cannot win. Polt will take